a corporate voice. Dr. Sharvil Patel, Managing Director at Zydus Cadila, joins in to talk about the US drug launch, if momentum is going to continue, investments in vaccines, as well as the benefits of the recent acquisitions. Great to have you on board. Now, this is the first interaction that we're having after the completion of the Zydus acquisition. There's been so many achievements, with the company in the last 2 years. So what is the outlook now for the next 2 to 3 years post this acquisition? How will the synergies really play out at a group level?
Yes, this year has been an important year for Zydus Wellness because Zydus Wellness acquired Kraft Heinz business in India. This business of a subsidiary of ours is an important business which got created in terms of creating niche places or new places when we want to solve for problem-based solutions and bring solutions for different problems that India is facing. And I think this acquisition helps us in terms of creating some of that capabilities for us. We are always into category creation, and many of the categories that we have acquired are leaders in that, the brands are leaders in that category, which helps us build a strong momentum going forward for Zydus Wellness. From an overall point of view, Cadilas has a lot of opportunity in terms of its future growth, driven by two main geographies, US and India, which contribute close to 90% of our business now. And our strong focus will remain in these two markets to create strong relevant brands, customer-facing products for the market. At the same time, also build a third pillar, which is our emerging markets piece. So amongst these three, led by innovation, is where we hope we will build on to Zydus' future.
Dr. Patel, just to stretch that question forward, over the last 5-3 years, the size of Zydus' operations have grown multifold. How does this paint the picture for growth in the coming years? How does this change the role of the top management, the way you work, the way you make your strategy for growth in the coming years for higher growth on the base?
So large part of the future growth is been driven by our innovation. We have been very successful in two important markets, which is India and US. US strongly driven by our small molecule generics presence. Has been very good. We have been able to file a lot of good ANDAs and also get approvals on multiple ANDAs, which is propelling our growth in those markets by creating differentiated dosage forms in these markets. India is a branded story, and with the acquisition of Heinz through a subsidiary as well as our India formulations business, that business almost becomes 40% of our overall business. So putting these two businesses together creates a strong growth momentum for the organization. Our R&D, which fuels a large part of this growth, is been good for us. As I said, on the small molecule front, we have been very good, but also on large molecules like biologics and vaccines, it's something that we are building upon in terms of our strength and creating a differentiation. More importantly, going forward, our foray into NCEs is going to pave way for a differentiated growth as well. So we have a good program running on our lead molecule, which is saroglitazar, which is an important readout this year on the important indication of NASH and NAFLD. So I think a lot of work on innovation has helped us. Our teams are stable. We have very strong management running our ops. For any generic manufacturer, a strong supply chain, good compliance and quality is very important. And I think our teams have been able to be are prepared for that and are building a strong foundation to create a robust quality culture across our organization.
Right. Could you also tell us about the US markets? What are the challenges, opportunities in the US region, and considering that's been the biggest market for you?
So US, we look at it as we are very optimistic on the market. It is the world's largest market. It still has growth momentum for it. It has a well-established generics market. I think what has been good for us is because of the number of launches that we have planned for. In the last year, we had 40 plus generic launches. In this year, we would launch 40 generics at the least, and if you're successful, maybe between 60 to 70 new generics. And we still have a pipeline of another 140 filed and another 40 that we keep on filing every year on average. So our pipeline is very robust. We have a strong franchise on modified release programs. We have a good franchise that we are trying to create on the topicals and derms. But going forward also our transdermals will start rolling out in terms of our revenue. And more importantly, we are building our foray into the injectable space, which will give us additional momentum, because today most of our revenues are driven from small molecules. But we have a lot of investments that have been made in this area of injectables. We have been able to file good products, also been able to partner in some good products. So going forward, US looks very good for us. We can see a good double-digit growth coming from the US market. And I think if one has a good supply chain, good cost efficiencies, one can build very strong and relevant positions in the US market.
Right. So do you think that, lower pricing pressure will lead to companies withdrawing drugs that are not profitable, and that in turn may lead to price hikes by exiting players?
It definitely does. I think more importantly, as you said, I say the supply chain is very critical, all the way from intermediates to key starting materials, which we start with, to APIs, to the formulation. I think if you are able to control and manage the whole supply chain and de-risk part of the supply chain, I think one can do very well when new opportunities or opportunities when others leave the market come up. I think cost efficiencies and cost management is also very important, and we have been doing a lot of effort to make sure that we are able to reduce our cost year on year to make sure we remain competitive in the competitive US market. And that has helped us in terms of being relevant with products that we launched since 2005. We are still relevant with those molecules today in the market.
Now, company has received a recipient of phenomenal 80 NDAs over the last 15 months. What is Zydus doing to maintain this overall trend?
Yes, we have had a good 2 years in terms of approvals. In this year also we are expecting 60 plus approvals, so our momentum will continue. As I said, we still have another 140 pending approval, and our productivity on R&D is such that we are able to file between 40 to 45 NDAs. So I think that will continue for Zydus.
Talk about the Indian markets and what is expected from there, especially post GST.
So yes, in the last 3 years we have had some of the different external circumstances that has led to some growth issues with the market. But I think going forward with things that have stabilized, we can see the markets growing between 10 to 12%, and progressive companies growing much better than the market. So I do see that in spite of all of the concerns, there is inherent growth in the market because of demand. And once that continues, we would see good growth coming back into the Indian market in this year.
Now, the pharma sector as a whole has faced quite a few issues over the last few years. When do you think we can see a bounce back?
So the US generics market has always gone through, it's been cyclical. There are ups and downs that one faces. I think with the buyer consolidation that happened, we had a severe erosion that happened on the pricing front, and that obviously created some disruption in the market. But the fundamentals of the US market are very strong. I think Indian manufacturers and Indian companies have very strong record on cost and productivity. Also, I think compliance is much better than what it was before. A lot of companies have invested a lot of human resources in compliance, also done a lot of things to simplify and improve processes. So I think that has been good. I think what has been worrying for the market and for a lot of people is they're not being able to predict, or there has been unpredictability in terms of how the business is done. But I think far more predictability will come into the business again, and I think that will boost more investor confidence into this sector.
Thanks much for taking time out and joining in with a perspective on the business, the overall situation right now at hand, as well as the buyout synergies, the recent drug launch as well.